Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of the Elite City Podcast. Hello, Rick. How you doing up there
Hey,
in Canada?
good. When you say very special, it makes it sound like it's one of those like 1980s very special episodes where they talk about like
Yes,
drug abuse on a sitcom.
that's what we're gonna talk about that.
That's right. We're going to talk about how just because your friends are drinking and driving, you shouldn't
Right,
do it.
exactly. In sitcom form, so we'll add some
Yes,
comedy in there.
that's right. And then we'll all hug at the end and it'll be emotional.
Perfect. I'm all about that.
Here we go.
Um, I tried to get an all-out thing in there, but it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
But that's the specialness that we're gonna hit today. Um, we're gonna go over the card of what we know for All Out. We're recording this the night before the first Dynamite in Chicago, so obviously there's gonna be more than like the 7 matches that we know. But
Right.
we're gonna cover what we know and how we got to the matches that we have so far. So we're still gonna do like a make it like a call it like a semi preview slash semi review and put them together and get like a whole.
There you go.
uh,
Works for me.
yeah, but there's a few things that have a lot to unpack. So we're just going to get right into it. It was announced last week during Dynamite during the opening segment that not eventually this Sunday we're going to get Danielson versus Jericho. Um, Obviously, if you
Lionheart
pair
versus Jericho. They made a specific point to note that.
the Lionheart, yes, that is very
Yes.
true. 2 in a row,
Yes. Different
right?
from the Wizard, different from Le Champion,
Correct.
different from whoever else he was 2 months ago.
Whoever he was and whoever he will be.
That's right.
Um, uh, like everybody saw this coming, but we finally got it here, and the person not involved in the match is the most interesting, and I think he's the wild card here.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, like, great promo by him on Dynamite.
Oh,
He did a
absolutely.
really good job there. He's
Yes.
been impressing me. I knew nothing about him on other than what I've seen in AEW, and I had no idea he could talk, but he's pretty good at it. So good for him.
He is.
And this is
Oh,
making
so
him. You're right. He's the most interesting person in this storyline, which I think is the point. Like they're trying to
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
elevate him by including Danielson and Jericho in his story, but it's working.
And in my opinion, Go's going to call down the JAS, and of course he's going to be part of it. But is he going to help? Like, there's going to be that moment where he's conflicted. Either Jericho's going to tell him to hit Danielson, or Danielson's going to tell him to hit Jericho, or
Right.
he's going to save one. That moment's going to happen.
Yeah, I could see like there being like a ref bump and then like a JAS beatdown of Danielson and him being like, oh, do I join in? Do I stop it? Do I? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be interesting.
I'm sticking with what I said last week that I think he's going to leave the Jericho Appreciation Society and Danielson's going to be excited that he's going to join the BCC and he's going to say, no, I'm not doing that either. I'm just going to go off on my own and he's going to do something himself.
I mean, that would be totally cool. I think he's going to help Danielson, and I think he's going to join the BCC.
That would work too.
I mean, but then it goes against everything that makes me mad about every time Jericho does something, it's a group involved, and that kind of still keeps both groups fighting, and I wish it would just end.
Yeah.
But
they have had a problem, specifically, I think, with Jericho. Maybe it's because of him. Like he's involved in the decision making here. But his storyline's going for a really long time.
Yeah. and
I think it is because they're in groups, because he fights one member of a group and then another member of that group fights another member of his group. And then like it just continues.
yeah. And I mean, I get that they do that to, I don't want to say protect Jericho. Like Chris doesn't really need protected, but he is
Yeah, they
getting
want to make,
older, and
he's
it's
still an important member. He can't lose all the time. Like, I get it.
yeah. And but it seems like one feud just goes into the next, like you just said. It's
Yeah.
like there's never. I mean, there might be an end, but it's kind of like a semi-end because then
Yeah.
it's just the problems with the next person, like you said.
And I get the point of it because they're trying to spotlight everyone. Like they're not, it's not just about,
Right.
Jericho and Moxley or Jericho and Danielson, or like they're trying to involve everybody in the storylines. But it does seem to go a bit long. But we'll see.
Yes.
I'm still hoping that Eddie Kingston does something and gets a match with Jericho.
Oh, oh, that would be. So
I know that ship seems to have sailed now, but I still want it to happen.
I'm with you on. You know, it, Eddie needs that moment. Like,
Yeah.
it would just be perfect. Like, so well deserved for a hardworking, like, lifelong indie wrestler. Get your break, make it to the big time. The crowd loves you, and then get to actually like pin a legend, or like not only a legend, but someone you looked up to. Like,
Right.
come on.
And it's because the crowd is so behind him that I feel like it should happen. Like, if it's not just like, an indie guy who, like, indie fans like
Right.
no matter where they go, like, he's over.
Yeah.
The crowd loves him everywhere.
Yeah. Everybody loves Eddie, and right. Well, for the past half a year, but
Right.
yeah, I agree. It's um back to Garcia's promo. That the promos that have been being cut on a weekly basis, AEW has no business having this many people that we didn't know could talk.
Right. Yeah, I don't know who's working with them. I don't know if like they have someone whose job it is, or just now they're more comfortable being in on the mic. Like, I don't understand. I don't know the process of it. Like, if they're doing like promo workshops, or if it's been long enough that all these guys have some time and they feel better now. But yeah, they are. There's been a lot of times where I'm like, I didn't know you could cut promos, and apparently you can.
Yeah, I mean, geez, we didn't even know Cesaro could talk.
Yeah.
Sorry, Claudio.
Yeah, now you pulled a JR there. Now the internet's gonna be very upset.
The internet will be mad at me.
Referring to someone by a name they used for the last 10 years. How dare you?
Exactly.
Speaking of which, is this the night? Is this the show that Danielson called himself Daniel Bryan, or almost called himself Daniel Bryan? He did, right?
Yes.
He was like, "You're gonna step in the ring with Bryan Danielson."
Yeah, it was during that promo.
And I feel like JR was like quietly happy with that moment to be like, yeah, even he messed up his own name, so you can't really blame me.
Right. Garcia is like, in the next 3 years, the amount of these people that are being elevated right now that are going to be on top of AEW, like, AEW has nothing to worry about. They are in very good hands.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, it seems like that's what they're doing, but I can see Daniel Garcia being like the Daniel. So I did it now. I did it. The Bryan Danielson of 2027, right? Like 20, like 4 or 5 years from now, like he'll be the Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan. I did it again. The Bryan. Now that I said it once, I'm just gonna keep saying it.
Yes.
But I could see him being in that role in 3, 4, however many years. That'll be his role, like the really good, talented technical wrestler who's also can play a heel, who can play an underdog, who can play a comedy guy. He can kind of do all of it, and he's still very young. I don't know how old he is, but he's still very young.
24?
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It's yeah. And like I said, 27, like it was like 57. I was like either 24 or 27. Like, I mean, like, yeah, those 3 years really make a difference.
23.
23. Oh, sounds wrong.
He's born. He's born September 7th, so he will be 24 in like a week.
Wow. My God.
No one at 24, and I know I'm an old man, but no one at 23, 24 deserves to be like this good at stuff. Like,
Exactly. Unless you're Sidney Crosby.
yes, yeah. I guess professional athletes are accepted from that because they
Well,
get
aren't
good
these
very young.
professional wrestlers?
That's true. Or sports
See,
entertainers. That's the whole thing. What
well,
are
see,
they?
it doesn't
That's the whole
say
feud.
right, but see, there's nothing that says you're professional in front of sports entertainer.
That's true.
So, like, if you're an actual pro wrestler, I mean, it's telling you that you're a pro.
Right.
You're not a pro. Oh man, see, Jericho needs to add that to the JAS and say professional sports
That would
entertainers,
be good.
and then they could have like pull someone new in and make him an amateur so
Oh,
he don't get
they
paid.
need to do a thing where Daniel Garcia wants to leave and he says, "No, you have an independent contract with me. You can't leave."
Oh my God,
But then
that's
like a month from now, cut him, but then tell him he can't join the BCC for 90 days. I know it's too obvious, but it would be hilarious.
It would be, and then like let all that slide and then keep him off TV for a week and then bring him back as like
It's a different name,
Daniel.
yeah.
Yeah, like Daniel Stevenson.
Right. That would be great.
Oh man, that would be amazing. Okay, well, that was fantastic. Unfortunately, we got the news last week of Thunder Rosa's injury,
Yes.
and we get another interim title. I mean, there's interims everywhere all of a sudden.
Yes.
I almost said she was gonna forfeit the title, but she's not forfeiting. It's an interim.
Yes.
But we're gonna, instead of a tournament, we're getting a women's four-way at All Out, and excuse me, it's Toni Storm, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Hikaru Shida. The big story here is obviously Thunder Rosa. We wish her well. Hopefully,
Right.
it's not too bad of an injury. But I haven't saw it. Ooh, that was poor English. I haven't seen anything about it. Have you? Like, I really don't even know what it is. So it can't be good.
I think it's like a back injury. Like she has a nagging back injury that's been getting worse, and so she has to take time off. I think I read that somewhere. I don't know
Okay,
for
that's
sure, but
so
I
that's
believe
not
that's what it is.
okay. So
And it doesn't
something that
sound like
doesn't
it's like a
involve
major
surgery.
thing. Like she's not going to be out for a
Okay,
year. She's going to be out for
okay.
like a few months.
Okay, so they're literally just giving her time to let her body heal. That is
Right.
a good, very good thing.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Okay. Well, that's more than I saw. Like I tried to look up before we started recording and I couldn't find anything. So yes, Thunder, you have our well wishes. Get yourself better, get back in the ring, and you'll be good as gold. This is an interesting match. Did they basically take the top four? I mean, that's what it seemed like.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Except for maybe Athena because she's in the TBS title situation.
Oh, okay. That makes sense too then. Okay.
I think that's what it was. Keep talking, I'll look it up.
Okay. The interesting aspect obviously is basically the team of Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Hayter is my wild card.
Yeah. And speaking of which, she's not in the top. The top three are Toni Storm, Britt Baker, Athena, but then Anna Jay and Nyla Rose, according to the rankings. So Hayter's in there as like a wild card. Maybe who did she beat recently? Did she beat someone recently?
She did, but I can't remember who she beat. And
or maybe she yeah.
I was gonna say maybe Nyla is out of it because her and Marina Shafir have been tagging.
Yeah.
So is Hayter like in the top 5 at least?
No.
Oh, sick.
It's Toni Storm, Toni Storm, Britt Baker, Athena, Anna Jay, Nyla Rose.
Huh. Wow. Unless, like, I mean, obviously Tony Khan has things planned. Like,
right. It's storyline, obviously, but it's just it's a little strange.
A little strange.
It's like how FTR has not had a tag team title shot yet.
Right.
Even though they've been ranked number 1 for like months.
And have every other belt.
Yes.
like every other tag team belt in the world.
Right.
Who do you think's going to win this match?
When they first announced it, my thinking was it'll be Shida or Britt Baker because it's an interim title, and much like with with Jon Moxley. I thought they wouldn't want to have someone win their first title and then have it potentially not count for anything.
Okay.
And I'm thinking Shida, because this is just, I saw someone's theory on Twitter, which I did not pay attention to who it was, unfortunately. But the theory was Moxley and Shida were like the early pandemic champions, and they had to perform in front of like empty arenas for a very long time. And is the thinking that, oh, if they have an opportunity to give them titles, with crowds, give them a little bit of time to like, as a reward sort of for what they did, 2 years ago. So my thinking is possibly Shida, but I don't know how that fits into like the storyline that they're running. She's kind of she's not really in their storyline. It's been Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa, and then Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter and involved with one another. So Shida's not really involved in that. So I don't know.
That's very good. A very good theory by the person on Twitter. Because that makes
too bad I didn't. Too bad I didn't keep track of who they were.
We have a bad track record at that. If this podcast ever catches on, and we actually need to do that, we better hire people because we're obviously not good at it.
Right.
But that would be super cool. Like, it would make sense. Like, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with it.
No. The only issue is it doesn't really fit in their storyline.
Well, yeah, exactly. But see, I like that. My pick personally is Jamie Hayter, and I think me and you texted back and forth about this. Just she'll win that, and from day one, Britt can tell her that it's not a real title.
That would be good. Yeah.
I'm almost positive it was time for Rosa to lose the belt.
Yeah, from what I've heard is the plan was Toni Storm was supposed to win.
Right. But see, if Toni Storm wins it, then just have them wrestle when she comes back, and
she legitimizes it. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I mean, I guess you could do it with Hayter too, or you could have Hayter lose it before. Like just have Hayter win it now.
But lose it before Rosa comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, just say Rosa's coming back the first of the year. Have Hayter lose it in December.
And that would be good for the Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter thing, because then Britt Baker would be like, well, you never actually were a women's champion. Like, that doesn't count.
Right.
That was an interim title. You never actually had the title.
Yeah. Oh, see, that it plays.
That would actually be a cool storyline. I'm not saying for this situation, but say, just to put in names, say Jamie Hayter did win the interim title and then lost the interim title to Toni Storm. And then when Thunder Rosa came back, Toni Storm would face Thunder Rosa.
Correct.
Jamie Hayter would want Toni Storm to win.
Yeah, because then that validates
that would validate her title run.
Right.
So that would be kind of cool if they did, like, not necessarily in this situation, but just at some point, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that I like what they've done. Like, when they first proposed interim titles, I mean, the first way they did it was kind of dumb because like Cody had COVID or whatever, so he was out for a week.
Yeah.
And they immediately did it interim. Like, that was a little weird to do that. But the way they've done it with the men's title, and now, like, I thought they did a really good job.
Yes.
The way they did it was much better than if Punk has just forfeited the title and then Mox won the title, because now it makes, we'll talk about this when we talk more about their match, but
yeah,
it makes their feud bigger because technically they're both champion, right? Like it.
Right.
I like it. It elevated the title. It elevated Moxley, and I think it can do the same thing for the women's title.
Absolutely. And I just literally thought of this right now. The person coming back from the injury doesn't have to fight for their, like, not necessarily their spot, but they're obviously like, hold on, wait a minute, I'm still the champion here.
Right.
We'll talk about it. That's basically what Punk said. Like, settle down, people. Like,
right.
He's not the real one. And it just, it's so good.
Yeah, I like the interim title. I thought I didn't like it, but they've done a really good job. And if this is like the thing that AEW does going forward, I like it. The only potential issue is if someone, like, they know they're going to be out for, like, they have to have knee surgery or something, and they're out for a year.
Right.
Then at that point you can't have an interim title for that long. Like, you would have to to strip the championship. But when it's a shorter reign, I like it.
The thing that I like most about this women's match, and I mean, we basically just inadvertently talked about it. Literally, any of these four could win it,
Right.
and it's perfectly okay.
Right.
Like, I think everybody's kind of on that page with that too.
Yeah, and that would be how it. Yeah, even if Britt Baker won, like I could see her being like, "I'm a 2-time women's champion," and everyone being like, "No, no, you're not. That doesn't count."
No, you're not. Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, if Britt wins it, and then just say Britt loses it, like she could still say that, like, well, yeah, I was champion.
Right.
Like, that wasn't the real one.
Right.
It's works so good for a heel.
Yeah.
Because if they lose it, they just say it doesn't count.
Right. Oh, that was that. It wasn't. I didn't lose the championship. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
It's a good gimmick, the interim title. I like it.
It is a very good gimmick within itself. And I like how it's just the same belt. Like,
right.
I mean, it's not like a different belt. It's
right.
Like, yeah. We have a tag title match for All Out, the Acclaim and Swerve in Our Glory. It's kind of weird how we got here,
yes.
but I like that they're rewarding the Acclaimed. They put in the work.
Yeah, this does seem like a rewarding the Acclaim. Like they've kind of caught fire recently. Like they're very popular, and this is kind of just their chances of winning are pretty low. I don't think they're gonna win, but it does kind of seem like we're gonna give you a big moment because you've kind of made yourselves into a big deal.
Well, I have a theory here.
All right.
I have a theory that the Acclaimed win, but because the Ass Boys are going to come down and like get a chair and like go to hit one of the Acclaimed, they're going to duck, hit one of Swerve in Our Glory, and Swerve in Our Glory is going to pin them. And that's like the way that, like, it's like the Billy Gunn way. He would be proud of, you know what I mean? He would
be, yeah.
And then, like, look what they did. They're still idiots. Look at them. And that's what I think is going to happen.
I mean, there is still I don't think they've forgotten about it. I think there will be a Swerve Keith Lee breakup at some point. And
for sure.
It could be now for all we know.
Right. But how long they've roughly had the titles?
A few months, 2 months.
Yeah, maybe like May or June. Definitely all summer.
Yeah.
So that's a little short. AEW does kind of like to go a little longer than that. But hey, maybe it's the curveball.
Yeah, and I think things got messed up with the tag titles because of the Hardy situation. I think they kind of...
Oh, that's true too.
They're still kind of out there with... It was July 13th. Yeah, that's really short.
Yeah, so then we're going to throw my theory out the window. Swerve in Our Glory win guaranteed. Okay, we're going to hear a record scratch again on that one, probably. Just throwing that out there. Hey, live by the code, die by the code.
There you go.
This, like, I don't want to say this match doesn't. It was just weird how it came about, like we said.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk smack on it in any way. It's like it's not that I don't want to see it or anything. It's just, I don't know. I'm less hyped about it than the rest.
And it's also a little weird in the scope of, and I know that part of the reason for this is because they're having a trios tournament, but in the scope of AEW's tag team scene, like their tag team scene is very, very, very good. And this doesn't seem like the two best teams. Like they're both good teams. Like I have nothing against, like I love the Acclaimed. Everyone loves the Acclaimed. They're great. But it doesn't seem like, I don't know. It seems a little weird.
Yeah, that's all. It just seems like I'm not by any means, but I agree. It's just off.
Yeah. But it could be it'll probably be a great match. So.
Oh, it will definitely be a great match. I mean, all four of those guys can work, and let's go. Like all day, I'll watch, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, normally it's what I would have said about the next match, but then we got a curveball thrown at us.
Yeah. Speaking of things that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. FTR and Wardlow versus Jay Lethal, and I thought my boy Satnam Singh was going to get his moment. No, they took that away from me. And it's Jay Lethal and unfortunately the Motor City Machine Guns. No, like seriously, they're way better than Satnam Singh and
I wonder if there's a
Sanjay
reason.
Dutt.
If there's a reason they changed it, like was that always the plan to have the Motor City Machine Gun, or if they changed it because they wanted a better, it's going to be a better match. Like, did they change it because they wanted a better match, or like was whatever they wanted Satnam Singh to do, he wasn't ready for it, or Sanjay Dutt couldn't do anything in the ring. So like, I don't know. Like, was it a change because they wanted a better match, or because like was this always the plan?
My guess is it was always the plan, just
Yeah.
because there would be too much time to negotiate. I mean, there wouldn't be enough time to negotiate to get, like, I don't know what Motor City Machine Guns are doing in Impact right now, but
Right. That's true.
they basically are going to be pulled off TV for now
Right.
because all this week is live, and then they were
Yeah.
on live last week, but I mean,
Unless
this
it was
whole
like
week is live.
a Claudio thing where they were signed to be with AEW, but this wasn't their initial. Wasn't the actual reason. Like, this wasn't the planned reason for them to be there.
That could be too. I mean, nobody has said anything. That's a good call. I I think the heels go over on this one.
I could see that.
I think Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal win, and in a very heel way. Like, it's not going to be clean. This is going to be the like shenanigans match of the night.
Yeah, this is one where the only reason I don't want the heels to win is because, no offense to Jay Lethal or his little squad of guys or the Motor City Machine Guns or anything, FTR and Wardlow should be doing something else at this point.
Well, I think this match is to set up FTR, Motor City Machine Guns, and
right.
Lethal and Wardlow too. Personally.
Yeah, I just don't know if we need a Lethal and Wardlow too, because he beat him pretty decisively last time. But yeah, I Motor City Machine Guns versus FTR. I can see that being a thing.
And I mean,
they need to get the Impact Tag Team titles involved in that somehow, so FTR can win those too.
Can win those too. I mean,
yeah.
They're going to have to get Satnam Singh in FTR just so he can hold his arms out
just to hold the titles.
See that's going to be interesting. Are the Motor City Machine Guns the?
No, I don't know who is. I think it might be the Good Brothers, or I don't know.
It was the Good Brothers.
Okay.
If it's still I don't know. It could still be.
I haven't paid that much attention to Impact, so
same here.
I'm not sure
that it's on.
Yeah.
Now the next match, I'm sure you're going to have a lot.
No, it's the Honor No More guys, Mike Bennett and Matt Tavern.
Oh, okay.
Well, technically it is the Good Brothers, but they've taped the show where they lose it. And okay. It's airing September 1st. So
I got you. This match, you've been talking about it for months, so we're going to let you take the lead here. Jungle Boy versus Christian.
Jungle Boy versus Christian. Way better story and angle and promos than I would have expected. If you had told me this match was happening 6 months ago, I would have thought it's going to be a very good in-ring match because they're both very good wrestlers. But I wouldn't have thought it would be like this like scathing blood feud that it turned into. I never would have expected that. And I like it. Like, it's entertaining and it's great, but I just didn't expect it.
Christian, I mean, Jericho always talks about how he reinvents himself, how Matt Hardy always reinvents himself. This reinvention of Christian, not only did nobody see coming, but my God, I think it's the best version of him.
Yeah. And when Christian first signed with AEW, you heard a lot of people like Moxley and Jericho and a few other people who were in WWE saying that, like, oh, he's so important. He's such a valuable member of the roster, and he's such a great, backstage guy. He's such a talented, creative guy. He's so good at storylines and promos, and I've always liked Christian a lot, but it seemed like a lot of even for Christian, it seemed like a lot of hype to put on him. But this is why they got this is the Christian that AEW wanted, and the Christian that probably WWE should have had a long time ago. Like
25 years ago.
Yeah. For I've heard for whatever reason Vince McMahon just didn't like him. Like, he just didn't like him. So he like just didn't want him around. Like that's basically what it was. I don't know if this is true. It's been like an internet rumor. I'm gonna go off on a tangent, and again, it always turns into a bashing Vince McMahon thing. But he's an asshole, so whatever. I'll bash Vince McMahon.
Deserve it.
Sorry, the storyline that I've heard about Christian and Vince McMahon was that he didn't like his face. He thought he had like a weird face, and thought that like his face wasn't like good enough to be on TV. and the story that I've heard is, I don't know if this is true. This could just be like an internet rumor, but the story that I've heard is that Vince McMahon was like, nobody likes his face. Nobody's going to want to see his face. Let's give him a gimmick where we like put a dot over his face whenever he's on TV. And the gimmick will be like, he looks so bad. Nobody wants to see him. And that'll be like the gimmick that he has.
Oh my God. It's amazing. Wow.
So that's apparently that. I don't know how far that got. Like that might have just been an idea he said, but apparently he wanted to put a blue dot on his face, and the gimmick would be like no one ever sees his face because he didn't like it.
Well, he also told Claudio he couldn't talk. He also told Ty Conti she wasn't talented.
Yeah. There's a lot.
He told FTR they were just wrestlers.
It's so strange, and again, I'm not going to turn this into a WWE. It's so strange that like now with Triple H in charge, I still haven't seen Raw or anything, but from what I can tell, it's better. Like the general consensus that I've read is it's
up until last night. Last night made the internet very mad.
Yeah, that's true. But generally, the general consensus is it's a better show. And some guys have come back, and some people have been put into better roles, or they got like their last names back or whatever. Like it seems like it's going in a better direction. It's so very strange that Vince McMahon leaves and the general consensus is like, oh, good, the show can be good again. Like everyone is happy.
Right. Yeah, even me.
Everyone. Like everyone is happy. Like it's so weird. It's so very strange to say that like Vince McMahon, who like created this whole thing of WrestleMania and WWE, and like he leaves and everyone's just like, oh, good. Wow, that's amazing. It's so great that he's gone. Like it's very strange. And like, yeah, he's a terrible person as an aside, so whatever. But it's just very weird. Anyway, back to Christian. Very talented.
Very, very talented.
I think this match will be not decisive because I think they're going to continue. I think they're going to have like a gimmick match. They'll have some sort of, for my first thought was ladder match, but now I think it's going to be like a last man standing match or a falls, like something more violent. So I can see
like I quit or something.
Yeah. So I can see this not ending, like Christian cheating and winning, and then they have to do another match. Now,
my question for you is, where does Luchasaurus lie?
Yeah, that's true.
Or do you just think they're gonna just, maybe he's friends with both of them, but he's just gonna step away?
I don't know. That's a good wild card there. I don't know what's gonna happen with him.
It is very interesting. Like I've been thinking about it all day, and I mean, heel Luchasaurus was so cool.
Yeah, and they've kind of made it like, oh, he's back with Jungle Boy, but like that seems too neat to have him just be back with Jungle Boy. Yeah,
right. So it's
like, is this Christian's plan to like, he's pretending
Did he outwork us again? Like
right.
I don't know. In my personal opinion, I think Luchasaurus stays out of it. But I do agree with you. I don't think that this is over by any means. It's too hot. I mean, this could easily be like semi-main event on this is their biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Right.
And it could seriously, well, the trios finals will probably be a semi-main event, but
right.
Regardless, that totally could be like the storyline is so deep and people are so into it. Like
this is one AEW feud that you want to keep going. I know they tend to make things, we've mentioned before how they tend to drag things out a little bit too long, but this is one that like, no, they should keep this going because it's good.
Right. And
there's so much more they could do.
So much more they could do. So much more. Another big story match. Powerhouse Will Hobbs and my boy Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
The Absolute.
What a promo.
What a promo. What I was just gonna say. Uh wow. That's all I could say, literally. Wow. Starks put himself on the pedestal to be a superstar. I'm just gonna say that. Not like
Yeah.
he
And it's hard when you have a gimmick like he has where his gimmick is just I'm great.
right.
Because it seems like that should be an easy gimmick, but it's hard because then you have to be great or you look really bad. Right. So I
Yeah.
mean if his whole thing is I'm great in the ring, I'm great at promos, I'm a great guy, like if you're not good at like if this promo was not good, it would hurt him more than, you know, if
Yes.
Jungle Boy cut a promo that wasn't good.
Correct.
Because that's not his whole thing isn't like I'm amazing at everything. So
Yeah.
but yeah, he did. It was great.
And we still don't know where Powerhouse Hobbs stands. The factory beat up Starks on Rampage, correct?
Sure. Let's go with
Okay.
that. Let's go with that. I think it was, but I can't be certain.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Last
We'll
week.
just say
It happened last week.
it definitely happened last week. That I can be a part of that. Um, so QT and the factory jump Starks. Hobbs kind of smirked a little bit in the ring, but kind of looked a little disgusted too. It was the every match kind of has a wild card.
is it just the fear of him being associated with the factory that he's upset about?
I mean, I would be honestly like
their inclusion in this is a little weird because it doesn't seem like it's necessary. Like they could have just had Hobbs and Starks be in a feud. It's weird that they
right.
threw the factory in. Like it doesn't hurt, but it's a little strange.
Yeah, unless there's something we're not seeing here yet.
Yeah. Because I mean, he's not joining the factory. I can't see that happening.
No, because neither of them need that.
Right.
But it is a very weird inclusion. Who do you think?
This is another one where I think
happens?
This is another one where I think Hobbs wins, or it's a count out. I mean, they don't really do countouts or double disqualifications in AEW, but I think it's not a Ricky Starks doesn't win because this is another one where I think it's going to go on for a bit.
See, I picked the opposite of you. I said
it kind of just started, so I feel like this is going to go on a bit, unless Starks wins, but then Hobbs, attacks him afterwards or something, and then they keep it going.
Well, no, see that makes sense too. But I had Starks winning to elevate him to, like, be like, "Hey, Wardlow, what's up?" Like, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the feud is whenever the feud ends, it's going to end with Starks being elevated up.
Oh yeah.
But I just don't know if that's now.
Well, that makes it's been so good though.
And I mean, Hobbs, I'm looking at the rankings still. Hobbs is number 2, so he could be challenging for a title.
Oh well, okay. So is Starks 1?
No, Hangman Page is 1.
Oh, Hangman's 1. Okay.
Yeah.
That's true. Starks just lost.
Yeah, Hangman Page, Powerhouse Hobbs, Chris Jericho, Daniel Garcia, Jay Lethal.
Oh no! But see though, if Starks wins, he'll beat number 2.
Right. So he'll be thrown up there.
So he'll be thrown right up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna throw you a curveball right now. Do you think Starks skips the TNT title?
I don't know, because it'll be Punk or Moxley. I'm assuming Punk, who will be AEW champion. So that would mean Punk versus Starks. I don't know if they would do that.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Interesting that you think Punk's gonna have the title too.
Yeah.
We have some things to talk about here.
We do.
Because we do have an unannounced main event. So
yes.
Like, there's the next 3 things that we're going to talk about are very up in the air as of yet. So
yes. And many will take that as a knock on AEW, which I kind of see, I kind of get. I mean, because it is a week before the pay-per-view, but I'll talk about that more later.
Well, we're going to learn about it this week. That's why I looked at it. Well, one's the tournament.
Right.
the tournament has to end this week. The
Right.
ladder match, okay, you could have announced people in it. I get it why people are kind of mad. And when we get to the main event, I'll get into why I like there not being one announced. But
Yeah.
we'll start with the ladder match. As I just said, and the internet's mad again.
It's so unlike the internet.
I know. They're
Usually so
just like,
calm and accepting of everything. No one's upset. No one's arguing. No one's
Yeah.
finding very small details to be outraged at.
right. I mean, usually it's just this really like
Just
cool and serene
calm,
place.
happy place.
No one's announced yet. So,
Aren't they all kind of jokers then?
well, yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming they'll announce everyone before the show. But
Yeah, well, they'll probably announce everybody on Wednesday.
right.
Cue the scratching record because it'll probably be Friday now. Actually, they'll hold a press conference Saturday to prove me wrong 3 times. so there you go. Who do you? Well, it's basically been confirmed that there is going to be a Joker.
Right.
So, who do you think the Joker is?
I mean, the general thinking a lot of people have is MJF.
So that's who I think it is.
The only reason I don't think it's MJF is because if they're gonna go, I mean, they could. This angle can go 2 ways. If what they go with is MJF signed a new contract for a ludicrous amount of money because Tony Khan realizes how great he is, and that, you know, obviously in MJF's words,
right?
Then I can see him being in this match because business wise, you know, Tony Khan would have just signed him to a new contract and spent a lot of money. So you want to involve him in a high profile match. I could see that. If they go the other way, that he's not re-signed, but he has to like live out his contract for the last, you know, year or whatever it is, and he's just going to be mad about it and upset the whole time, then I can see him not being in the match, because if he's just going to be angry and disgruntled, why would he be put into this match as an angry, disgruntled person? Unless the thinking is Tony Khan's going to try to make him happy and want him to stay. I don't know. It could be him.
Well,
it just made me think of all the ways this storyline could go, and they're all very
absolutely
fun. And I like them all.
Absolutely.
Or it could be someone new. Like, wasn't it? It was Brian Cage one year.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Brian Cage this year, that's for sure.
What if it is? Tony Khan's like, who the hell's that?
Does he work for me? Oh, he does. All right, put him in the match.
Yeah. He could be the surprise. Wait, he's been here for 4 years? Whoa. Yeah, I think MJF is the wild card, or Joker, excuse me. I think he's the Joker. I think he wins it and he cashes in all the same night.
Yeah, because they never really they haven't really explained how, and they never have, how the casino ladder match winner works, because they've never said, is it like a cash-in situation? Because it's just for a future title match. It's not for at any particular event, right? So in theory, I guess you could ask for that match whenever you wanted, but they never had anyone do that. So I don't know if that's possible, but I guess it is.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, like the way that I see it going down, aka my fantasy booking, MJF wins it. Everyone is pissed. Like, nobody is happy. Shivani's in the ring. They let MJF talk. MJF cuts the babyface promo of a lifetime. Totally turns the crowd around on him. Mox and Punk do have a match. Punk gets the one, barely's able to cover Mox. Gets the 1, 2, 3. MJF's music hits. He runs down, hands the ring to the referee, rolls Punk over, puts his finger on him. 1, 2, 3, new champion. And then he's the heel again.
That would be really cool.
And yeah, and then there's a riot, because that's probably what would happen.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, like the most unlegitimate match for his first legitimate reign.
Right. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I could definitely see that, and it would be cool. Like, it would be cool to see.
Yeah, and then of course he would talk about, I won 2 matches,
right?
21 men in one night. Oh, that's one more than Wardlow's.
There you go.
So that's what he could say. He beat 21 men in one night. Uh, that's what I see happening. I think it's going to be the ladder match again. It's not knowing is so cool.
Yeah, how many people are in a casino ladder match? I don't even know.
It's 20, right? It's four for each. 21. It's four for each suit. They do.
That's the casino battle royal, though. Is that the same as the ladder match?
Oh, that's right.
Because
That is
the
battle
ladder
royal.
match they had was Hangman Page won last time, didn't he?
Yeah. Okay, so
I
I
think it
don't know
was.
how many
I
it
don't
is.
remember how many they had in that last time.
Yeah.
Again, keep talking. I'll look it up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because Ethan Page was in it 1 year, but I can't remember if he was a battle royal or if he was the ladder match.
Okay, the last time they did the casino ladder match was when Hangman Page won it,
Okay.
and it was 7. So 6 announced, and then the Joker.
Okay. Okay.
And then I think 1 year it was Brian Cage. Was it not? Or was he the battle royal? We really should have done this stuff in advance, but what are you gonna do?
Until this second, I mean, even in the notes, I have casino ladder match. I thought it was a casino battle royal. That's why I
No,
just said.
Brian Cage was Brian Cage won it last time in 2020.
Oh, that's right. He did win it. I
Yeah,
forgot about that. Wow,
he won it in
man,
2020.
I feel bad for you, Brian.
Yeah.
Like I literally totally forgot that happened. Wow.
It's different. It's who was in the casino ladder match that time? Scorpio Sky, Frankie Kazarian, Kip Sabian, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy. Okay, there's more people in it that time.
Oh, okay.
There was 10 that time.
Interesting.
So it's not even consistent with how many people are in the match. So
Right.
we don't actually know how many people could be in this match.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. We're also gonna get the finals of the trios tournament.
Yes.
Right now we have on the I also like how they did it. They did um half the tournament on Dynamite, half the tournament on
Yeah,
Rampage.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was neat. Aussie Open and Will Ospreay and the Bucks and Kenny are still alive on Dynamite, and on the other side on Rampage we have Dark Order and the Best Friends. Um, we'll break this down. We'll do 2 segments here. Who do you think wins to advance between Aussie Open and the Bucks and Kenny?
I think Bucks and Kenny. It's almost certainly.
Okay. And who do you think between Dark Order and Best Friends?
Dark Order. I think we're gonna go with a Dark Order elite final, and Hangman Page will have to choose.
See that's
somehow it'll either be the one theory is someone from Dark Order is going to be injured and Hangman Page will have to replace them, or there'll be a moment where the ref is down and both teams are going for a chair or something, and he could help either side. Like it's good.
Right.
He's gonna be in the middle of this somehow.
Well, I agree with that. So I agree with everything that you said, even who's going to win. I definitely think the Bucks and Kenny win. And I definitely think Dark Order wins over Best Friends. But there's an interesting fact. Everyone's saying that 10, like in storyline, got hurt.
Right.
Like, remember he was messing with his knee
on
Friday. And they were like, well, obviously Hangman's going to replace him.
Right.
But wouldn't it be Evil Uno?
Yeah.
So someone else has to get hurt.
Yeah, that could even be there's going to be drama between both sides. And right now, Hangman Page is clearly on the Dark Order side.
Right.
If 10, say, is, storyline injured and he's like, okay, someone needs to replace me, and Hangman Page could be like, you know what, I'll step in. I'll replace you. And no, we were talking about Evil Uno. Sorry. Like he's in the Dark Order. You're not actually in the Dark Order.
Well, that's true too. Oh man.
And then now he's kind of spurred by both sides. Like who is he going to? Yeah. I think that's going to go somewhere.
That's a good call. because then it messes with his psyche again too.
Yeah.
Like,
Then he's like, oh, I thought these guys were my real friends, but now I don't know. Like, is it
right,
the Elite wanted me on their team?
right, and I shut them down, and these
Yeah.
guys told, oh man, that's all. That's many different levels of rejection.
Yeah. Like, just because the stuff with the Elite and the Dark Order and Hangman Page has been so deep and layered, I feel like they're going to go with something like that.
Now, I oh man, I hope that happens now. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Who do you think wins overall? Who do you think takes the titles home at the
I
pay-per-view?
I think the Elite, because from what I've heard, they were waiting for Kenny to come back to do this tournament, so he's going to be a big part of it. Or is his part of it losing to Dark Order? Like they just want to have a story. Like they needed Kenny for the story. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I think the I
I
think the
think
Elite
the
win,
really cool if it was Dark Order.
but I think it would be I agree. That's what I say. I think the Elite win, but I think it would be super cool if it was Dark Order. Just because for the past year people have been complaining, like the Dark Order doesn't do anything. The Dark Order doesn't do anything. Well, they won last week, and everyone's like, "Oh, but it was illegitimate."
Right.
Like y'all have been saying you want them to win, so they advanced, and then you were mad because it wasn't like clean. Like it's
Right.
also pro wrestling.
Right.
It's not the Olympics here. Like you know. Uh
Yeah.
so yeah, I agree with you on that too. I would love to see Dark Order win, but I don't think that was the initial plan.
Right.
But then again, neither were all the injuries.
That's
So,
true. Yeah.
maybe they'll, going back to, full circle from earlier about Sheeta, maybe they'll give the Dark Order, like, hey, you know what? During the pandemic, you guys were there every week, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, put the belts on them for a few months.
And I mean, it's, if you listen to all the, and I think there is some with most rumors, there's some truth that to like the AEW originals being kind of upset at how they may be not as featured as they thought they would be.
Right.
I could see this being a no. We still care about you. Like you're still important. So you can have the titles because
Yeah.
you deserve something.
Now, my question for you is obviously the forbidden door never really shut because did you see that Kingston has a match now?
Yes. Also, I noticed
It's
there's a match we didn't include in the outline between Jade Cargill and Athena that we didn't talk about.
oh, I didn't put that in there. We'll throw that in there next.
Yeah, Kingston has a match with Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah.
Tomohiro Ishii, sorry.
Jade versus. There we go. And then we'll talk
I don't know how
about
that match came about with Eddie Kingston.
I just was like, I wonder if Tony controlled anybody today. I went on his Twitter and it was like he had just announced that it was like within 5 minutes of when I checked.
Okay, it's a rematch from Capital Collision, like a New Japan event. Okay, they have a history. It's
okay.
It's just in New Japan. It's not in
They
AEW.
are literally gonna that's gonna be Eddie getting his frustrations on Sammy out there. Just
Yeah.
let them go out there and fight.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. Um, my question to you, like, since the Forbidden Door, like I said, never technically closed all the way, when do you think Tony puts over one of the New Japan teams for one of his titles?
Yeah, it'll happen. I think it'll happen. I don't know necessarily when, but I could see it happening.
I same here. What title do you think?
I mean, the trios title is a good example of it because it's not it's the only trios title, yes, but it's not the tag title. It's not the main men's or women's title. So I could see that the trios title being one that goes to a New Japan team for a while.
That would make a lot of sense because, like, yeah, it's not like a main title.
And I don't think it'll be the TBS or the TNT titles because they have to be on TBS and TNT.
Yeah, those are basic. Yeah. Yeah, so like I guess it could only be, well, it could be the All Atlantic. Never thought of that.
Right, that's true.
But other than that, yeah, like it would, unless like just say for the sake of argument, say Aussie Open and Will Ospreay win this. If they do, guaranteed Tony has it set up the same way that Takeshita was just here. Like they would be on loan for like 3 months,
Right.
but to just have the title reign.
Right. Yeah.
Like he would do something like that if it would be a big title. Okay, yeah.
And I just realized the other wrinkle to this storyline. We talked a lot about the Hangman Page Elite Dark Order part of it, but we haven't talked at all about Adam Cole and the Undisputed Elite. Like, are they going to be here?
That's a good question too.
Like, are they going to inject themselves in this?
Oh, I think they almost have to.
Yeah.
Because then that really puts Hangman.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, in my head right now, say Kenny and the Bucks win, and then Hangman's talking to Dark Order on the outside, telling them everything's okay, whatever, and then Adam Cole comes out and attacks the Elite. Does Hangman help them?
Right.
Like would he save the Bucks from that?
Oh,
because he did. He came out before. He came out before and saved them. So
right. Yeah, he has to, huh?
Yeah. So that would be cool.
That would rule. I never even thought about that. And what a way to. I mean, that's full circle.
Yeah.
Oh,
whatever.
Yeah,
like,
let's go.
As much as we said this a million times, everyone knows the Young Bucks are great, and whether you like their high flying indie-ish style of wrestling or not, like their stories are great, their matches are great, but in terms of like emotional impact, outside of maybe Eddie Kingston, Hangman Page has he's like the most emotional wrestler I've ever seen in in a very good way. Like he makes you care about everything he does. He has a well-rounded character that has conflicting feelings, and it's just so, and it must be his involvement, because not every character on the show is like that. Like he must have a role in this, and it's just so good. Like that he has friendships, but he also has partners, and he's conflicted by things, and he has self-doubt, and he has he does it so well.
And I'm not being facetious when I say this, but he's almost Bret Hartish.
Yeah.
I mean, that was wow. That's a good call.
His emotional range in wrestling, maybe Eddie Kingston, Eddie has it too, but they're both very, very good at it.
They're very good at it, and they make you feel it.
Right. Definitely.
That's a good call. I like that. Well, since I forgot to add it and you remembered, we'll go right into it was announced Jade came down to the ring on Rampage and threw
I think it might have been
out.
backstage. I think it was backstage, but yeah.
It was backstage.
Yeah.
And at the end, by the time she threw everybody out, I thought that was amazing. It was just it starts. There was 37 people there.
Yeah.
And then 12 seconds later, it's
and then even
Jade.
Sorry, what's the interviewer's name?
Lexi Nair.
Yeah. She's like, I don't need you either.
Yeah. Yes.
Jade is great.
Jade is so good. And has come has always been good, but how well-rounded she is.
Yeah, the growth she's had in the last however many year or so, it's been really good,
unbelievably good. I mean, she no longer needs a mouthpiece. Just let her go out there and be a star, and that's what they're doing. I think.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, she cuts this promo. She tells Athena if she wants her, come get her at All Out. Putting the belt on the line. I think this is the one that defeats Jade. I think Athena does it.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time that Jade moves on to something else. The only thing is I feel bad because I really think it was supposed to be Chris Statlander. and that's really unfortunate
Yes.
for her because beating Jade is going to be a huge moment. Like, she's never lost, so her losing is going to be a huge deal, and it's unfortunate that it couldn't be Chris Statlander, but I do think it'll be Athena.
I agree. And again, I mean, you can't sit around and wait a year.
Right. If she was going to be out for if she was going to be out for 2 months or something, then yeah, I could see waiting. But they're not going to wait. Not going to have this go another year.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's going to be so good. And Athena's deserving too. Like, she busted her butt on the indies for years before she went through WWE hell.
Yeah, and she made those
So,
wings on her own that got destroyed. Wasn't it tragic?
When Triple H Jade hit him with the sledgehammer, pardon me.
I think I mentioned this last week. That's my favorite like wrestling thing, when they suddenly add a lot of value to a thing.
Oh yes.
And then that thing gets ruined.
Yeah.
I remember there was a I don't know when this was, but like Bret Hart had, like, he always wears leather jackets.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in a feud with Jean-Pierre Lafitte, who was Carl Ouellet, I think, who was a pirate. And he stole Bret Hart's. He was stealing things from wrestlers at ringside, and he stole Bret Hart's jacket. And then suddenly that had become like, oh, that's the jacket he wore at WrestleMania when he won the championship, and it was dedicated to him by like they suddenly gave this whole like backstory to like this random leather jacket that Bret Hart wore.
That's amazing.
So it reminds me of this. Like, suddenly there's this like in-depth backstory to these wings that make them like an essential part of the storyline.
Amazing. Just this popped in my head while you were telling that story. Just random question to you. Have you ever met the Hitman?
I saw him outside the arena and have a photo with him, but that's it.
Nice. Yeah. He was one I never got to walk up and shake his hand or anything.
I met Owen at an autograph signing. He was really cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
He was really cool.
So jealous. I've met a few wrestlers in my day, but never got to meet any of the Hearts or anything.
No, Brett I saw outside the building, because they used to have, when they had matches at Maple Leaf Gardens, they didn't have, it was an old building, they didn't have like an in-ground parking lot. So they had to park like on the street and then walk in. So you'd see them coming in.
Very cool. Okay. Sorry, back on topic. So you agree, you think Athena?
Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's and if Athena doesn't win, who will it be?
So I feel like doesn't win, Jade might have the belt for a year.
Yeah, seriously. So I feel like it has to be Athena, unless they're gonna do like one of the baddies turns and wins, but I don't think they'll do that.
See, I mean, I know they're not going to do this, but I was hoping that, and this is nothing against Jamie Hayter, I was hoping they would write in a, like, oh, she got hurt, and Jade would be like, you know what, I own this division, so I'm just going to step up. I'm going to wrestle twice in one night. And lose the TBS title, but win the interim.
Right.
But
that'd be cool.
I don't. There's no way they're going to do that, though.
Yeah.
But if they did, that'd be super cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Athena wins.
I agree with you. Like I said, unless they have plans for Jade to literally have the TBS title for 1 year.
Right. Or to win like both titles or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't see that. But maybe that's the plan. I don't know. Okay. Now we're into some uncharted water here.
Some controversy. Shockingly, again, the internet is upset.
Internet is mad.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't have an announced main event. I know. Can you believe that?
I'm clutching I put on pearls just to clutch them for this moment.
Yeah, I might not even buy the pay-per-view now, because I need to know everything that's going to happen. I need a memo forwarded to me.
Yes.
No main event announced now, because Punk and Mox, they couldn't wait. They had to have 8 minutes on national television.
There is no way I expected that. I like it. I actually like it. But
Same here. I love it.
But there's no way I expected that. Like, not at all.
Yeah, oh, totally. I I was dumbfounded for like a day and a half because I was like, "There's no way that's how it ended." Like I
I
missed
spent
something.
such a
Like,
long time thinking. First of all, I spent such a long time thinking, like, was that the plan? Was that supposed to happen, or did Punk? And then I was like, no, that looks like the plan. Like, it looked like Punk. From what I could tell, is Punk isn't actually re-injured. It just that's the
correct.
story. But and then after realizing, no, that was the plan. I'm like, okay, so now it's going to happen, which
Right.
I think is really cool. Like the knock people have on wrestling in general and AEW specifically, and it's not unwarranted, is that most of the time you know what's going to happen. It doesn't
Right.
mean it's a bad thing, but like when Hangman Page went up against Kenny Omega, you knew Page was going to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
Necessarily when you weren't 100% sure, but you knew that where that storyline was going once they started it.
Right.
This you have no idea from like week to week, show to show what is going to happen, and it's really cool.
Right. I mean, literally, hit everything from MJF coming back to, you think Punk's going to win the belt back again. I, there's so much, and it's so deep. Like when
Yeah,
I think I texted you yesterday or this morning or something. Punk's loss was on Vince's birthday,
right.
and he got re-injured spinning on his heel, so technically it was a heel turn.
Right.
Come on,
Oh yeah, I
like,
didn't even think of that.
yeah,
That's cool.
that's my. I added that one in there myself. Thought of
I
that
like
one.
that. I like that.
But that's where his head thinks. Like
Right.
he
Yeah,
damn well knew it was Vince McMahon's
most
birthday.
people you might
Like,
not think that matters, but like I feel like CM Punk plans these things. Like he cares
oh
about
yeah,
details.
yeah, guaranteed he went to Mox and Tony Khan, and he was like, "Hey, look, I don't know if
Like
y'all know this, but it's."
even when he had his first UFC match, he had it in the same arena where he left WWE.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. That's
And I'm
amazing.
pretty sure he looked at UFC's schedule and was like, "Okay, that's the show I want to come back. I want to have my match at."
That's amazing. See, I did not even know that. That is
He pay
utterly
yeah,
incredible.
he pays attention to stuff like that.
Yeah, that's my call. Like I said, he was doing a spinning kick and he spun on his heel and got re-injured. Okay, well to me that's a heel turn.
Right.
Um, I don't know. They're obviously they're gonna get their hands on each other again.
Right.
And there has to be a main event. They're not gonna.
What if they didn't? What if they were like Mox is just facing some guy from New Japan and Punk's not on the show? Like they're not gonna do that, but like what if they did?
That would be such a back in the day like ECW thing. I'd be
Yeah.
so excited. Like I'd be so stoked. I'd be a little upset, but like I'd be like, man, that was so good. Like made me buy this. I'm up $50 now. Like,
Put the show in Chicago for 3 straight days. You could have
right,
CM Punk on the show, and you're just not going to.
right. And see that's like the long. What I'd eventually see the long game there and be like, see, they did it right. they did it right.
Yeah. The fact that it's in Chicago is throwing me off because I do think Punk is turning heel, but
yeah,
you can't turn him heel in Chicago. Like it
because
won't work. It'll be like when they turned Austin in Texas. Like I don't even
yeah,
like I'm not going to go on a tangent here, but I'm one of the people who don't think turning Austin was a bad idea. I just think you couldn't do it in Texas. Like it's not going to work.
exactly.
And it's the same thing. You're not going to Chicago is not booing CM Punk. Like CM Punk could come out there and like I don't know, murder people, and they'd be like, "Well, he was kind of justified." I still agree with that. That was fine.
Like that guy had a record. He really wasn't that good of a dude.
He looked at him a bit weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we really know what he was like?
So the heel turn in Chicago is not going to work. I could see him doing something and then actually turning heel, the next week on Dynamite, but it won't happen in Chicago.
Yeah, there's.
Tony Khan has watched enough wrestling to know that.
Well, anybody, you can't do that in their hometown. Like, if they brought Britt in, Britt's not a heel in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but you tell Vince McMahon that he'll do it.
I don't know how, but
he turns people. He tries to turn people against their hometowns all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not saying it works. It definitely does not. But But don't say no one will try it, because he would try it.
Well, that's true. That's true. Very true. Yeah, so there's no way. I agree with you on that. There's no way Punk. I mean, stretching it here, and everybody would know like how dumb it was. Is if he would be like, oh, well, maybe I'll take this belt back to Connecticut, and like everyone would just be like, shut up, you're not going back to
Right.
WWE. Like,
Yeah,
like people wouldn't even buy that. Like,
he's the one guy it wouldn't work with too.
right, unless he actually showed up there.
Right.
Which, I mean, we'll talk about a swerve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, I mean, there's obviously going to be a main event, and they did announce on Dark tonight that Moxley has he's gonna have a promo tomorrow night.
Okay.
So the one
have
thing,
they don't think they haven't actually said Punk is going to be on the show, right?
no, they have not.
No.
But what I'm hoping for, now that I know that Mox has a promo, I'm hoping that he just comes down and says, well, you know what, since someone's too injured, you know, screw it, it's an open challenge, and you just hear call to personality,
Right.
and you know, don't even say anything, just limp into the ring, you know, maybe have the doctor like, you know, stop him halfway down or something. Like, it's
What I'm thinking is Punk comes out, maybe cuts off Moxley, and then does a face promo that's actually a heel promo, because I think he could pull it off. He could pull off like a, you know, congratulations to John. He beat me fair and square. Of course, I was injured, so that's, you know, I was injured and I wasn't able
right.
to. But you beat me fair and square. Good for you. And you know, when I'm not injured, I'm sure we'll have another match, and I'm gonna win that match. But for right now, good job. Like something along those lines. That Mox will just be awesome. Like, no, fine, do it now. Like we're having this. Like he's gonna have to goad him into the match, and I think that's a way to do it.
That's amazing.
And it'll work because it's in Chicago. Chicago will be on his side, right. And that's
exactly.
just gonna enrage Moxley to be like, "What are you talking about? This guy's being a prick, and you're cheering for him. Like, I won that match. Like, don't you know, disrespect me." And then he's gonna goad him into the match.
Oh, I'm so excited right
now. How good is Jon Moxley though? Like, honestly,
unreal. Good.
Even like his promo that he cut on Dynamite was, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Well, sorry. Like that was so good.
Oh, it was so good, so good. And then, oh, and what did he say? Like, I am pro wrestling.
Yeah,
what a line.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of, you got to watch Road 2.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't,
I haven't yet, but I will.
The opening line is perfect. That's all I'm gonna say. It's perfect.
I think Punk wins in like a heelish way, and Chicago is fine with it because he's in Chicago. And then next week he cuts like an obvious heel promo that will get him booed.
You know what I just thought of? What if he's in with Stokely?
That's possible.
Would Chicago turn on him for doing that?
I don't think Chicago would turn him for anything. I think even if like MJF came out earlier in the night and cut like a scathing anti-Chicago promo, and then the show ended with MJF and CM Punk joining forces and like shaking hands, people would still be like, yeah, okay, I like MJF now. He's fine.
That's true. Very true.
There's certain people, like, you can't turn Bret Hart heel in Calgary. Like, there's certain people, like, it's not going to work.
You can't turn Bret Hart heel in Canada.
Yeah, like, Bret Hart had to continue to be a face in Canada and a heel in the U.S. because, like, he wouldn't get booed in Canada. Yeah. I think that's the same thing with CM Punk.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a great call.
But I love it. I love that we don't know what's going to happen. I love that it's seemingly layered. I love that Mox is getting to do a good job. Punk's going to do a good job. I do kind of think that the reason that they had the match the way they did was, from what I've heard, is Mox legitimately didn't like being interim champion. He thought it looked bad or it sounded bad. And I do think that it was kind of Tony Khan's thinking that, he did do a really good job as interim champion. So let's have him win. Let's have him be the actual champion so that counts.
No, hey, yeah, I'll take that.
And we're still going to get the match with CM Punk at All Out. So who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It's not like we ruined anything. People seem to think that because they had that short match on Dynamite, now if they have another match, it's somehow going to be worse. Like that having the short match ruined the next match. I don't think that's true.
Oh no, I don't think that's true at all. If anything, all having that short match, all it did was give them free advertisement, because that's all the internet has talked about for 6 days now.
Right.
So, I mean,
like, I know you don't watch WWE stuff, but when Goldberg, this is a good Goldberg, a positive. I'm going to say something positive about Bill Goldberg and Brock Lesnar and WWE.
Whoa.
In this, wow. When Goldberg came back after however long he was gone, they had to have a match with Lesnar, and they had their last match at WrestleMania 20 when they were both leaving, and everyone booed them because they knew they were leaving. And they booked this like big epic match of, Paul Heyman saying, you beat him at, WrestleMania 20, but this is a different Brock Lesnar and blah, blah, blah. And Goldberg beat him in like a minute. And people were outraged at this. I remember thinking, no, that was really cool, because nobody expected that. Nobody thought that was going to happen. And now they get to do another match, which if they just had a match and whoever won, that's it. Storyline's over. Right. But if they do it that way, they could have another match and be like, oh, well, yeah, okay. You changed over the last 10 years too. So, okay, let's have another match. And then they did. And it was actually good. So I feel like the Mox Punk thing, you're right. It added to it. It didn't take away from it.
No, yeah, it definitely added to it. And they're gonna, like you said, like, obviously, if it goes through to another match at All Out, like you just said, Punk has to win it, because then they get then they need a third match,
right?
So,
and I think Punk's gonna win it in a sort of heelish way, like not a very heelish way. He's not gonna grab a chair and knock Mox, but like something. There's gonna be something kind of heelish that he does that lets him win the match, and that also gives Mox a reason to ask for a rematch.
And it's gonna be, I believe it's here. Like we are officially in All Out week. Like I said a few times tonight, Dynamite's, it's Tuesday night here. Dynamite's gonna be tomorrow night. It's when they announced it seemed like it was forever ago. Now we've had Forbidden Door, we've had an ROH pay-per-view. I mean, so much has happened. Like,
and doing it all in Chicago is a really bold move, because there was a chance CM Punk wasn't going to come back. First of all, he might not have been here. Like, if he was too injured, he might not have been here. But also, it does change the story of how you book the matches, how you book the promos, like how people are going to react. And
absolutely.
And in a good way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, the reactions you're going to get in Chicago would be different as if they had it in, Florida or somewhere that's neutral territory for both guys.
Right.
And Mox got to win last week in Ohio, where he's from. So good for him.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot he was an Ohio boy. So it has come to that time in the show when it is time to rant.
I have a mini rant. I've used up most of my rants today, I think. But
nice.
You can go first. You can go first today.
I can go first today.
Yes.
Well, mine's an easy one today.
All right.
It's actually not a rant either. I'm talking about titles and title matches and title reigns. Mine is about AEW title reigns, and how people, aka the internet, doesn't like that there's long title reigns in AEW.
Right.
And again, I understand I'm the old person here. I'm different generation and just different time. But back in the day, people, like, literally Bob Backlund, in the 70s, held the title the entire decade.
Right.
I'm fairly sure it was like 9.5 years before
Yeah.
Bruno Sammartino beat him.
And he
And
had it,
then,
and he had it forever.
yeah,
And yeah.
that's what I was just gonna say. Then Bruno had it forever. Hogan had it for a majority of the like at least 5 years in the 80s. I bet you he had it from probably 85 to
It was a very long
on.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Hogan always had the title. Um, in AEW standard by if you go by those standards, AEW title reigns are short.
Right.
But by today's standards, AEW title reigns are long. I like the long title reign because eventually somebody is going to win a title and lose it like I don't know, just use all out. Say Athena beats Jade Sunday. Jade wants her rematch next Wednesday, and Jade gets it back. Like people would go bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's exactly what they're setting up. Like
Right.
something like that will happen, and it will make both like it will make them losing, but them winning it back that much better.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
I mean, speaking of which, I just looked it up. If you don't count, like, because the way WWF worked at the time is they had like they didn't want faces to beat faces, right? So they threw in a lot of short title reigns in between the long ones.
Oh, okay.
Like it went Bruno Sammartino, Ivan Koloff, Pedro Morales, but Ivan Koloff had it for 21 days. That was just to transfer the
Oh,
title. But Bruno Sammartino had it for 2,803 days.
yeah.
Then Pedro Morales had it for 1,027. Then Stan Stasiak for 9, because that was another one of those. Then Bruno Sammartino again for 1,237 days.
Right, exactly.
Then Superstar Billy Graham for the short reign of only 296 days. Then Bob Backlund for 2,135 days.
That's exciting.
Followed by Hogan at Iron Sheik for 28 days, another one of those little ones. And then Hogan at 1,474.
Yeah. So
then they started being shorter.
Yeah, I'm not saying we go back to that because I mean you can't. I mean,
right? They had they had 5 shows a year or something, right? Like
yeah,
they can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you would have people fatigue seeing the same people every single week.
I mean, even what WWE is doing now with Roman Reigns has had it for a long time, and people are getting bored with it.
Yeah, I mean, as over as The Rock was in Attitude Era, like it started to get to the point, like, all right, The Rock's had the belt for like 100 years.
Yeah,
like.
I remember getting annoyed at Steve Austin like always having the title, and he didn't have it that much, but like exactly. I remember being annoyed at it.
Yeah. So yeah, like, just my advice to the younger fans out there, enjoy it because you're like, yes, it's predetermined and fake, but we all know that. But literally, someone in the UFC could win a belt and never lose it because it's a legit, real. Well, wrestling's legit is in sport, but like they can defend their belt forever and never lose it. But like, enjoy people holding on to their belts because, like we said earlier, when Jade loses, or if Jade loses Sunday, it's a big deal.
Right. It's a much bigger deal than if she had it for like 3 months.
Right. You know, and the same thing, like, think about how mad everybody was when Rosa lost to Britt Baker at the pay-per-view, but they did it to set it up so she could win in her hometown or her home state or whatever.
Right.
But that's literally how much everyone wanted Rosa to win. Like, they didn't give it to her when they thought they were going to give it to her, and that's the whole point of a long title reign.
Right.
So, the young fans out there, quit complaining about AEW's title reigns because we don't want. Like I've said, we don't want the Bob Backlund 2,100 day reigns back.
Right. But it does make it mean more when it's a longer reign for sure.
Yeah. So like I said, my rant was easy this week. So floor is yours, my friend.
Mine is kind of on the same, once again, without talking, kind of on the same topic. You can tell we just spend a lot of time on the internet, I guess.
Very much.
Mine is let things play out. And I know that I don't want to take shots at WWE again, but I know that we've said this many times, if you are 20 something years old, all you know is the way WWE runs their shows. And that's no one's fault. That's when you were born. Right. But the way WWE runs a lot of their stuff is Vince McMahon's WWE. I don't know what Triple H is going to do, but the way WWE had run a lot of their stuff is they just forget that things happened. I mean, recent WWE is like they have no history, right? They just drop storylines. They drop two guys who hated each other are now friends. Two guys who were friends are just not friends. Like they forget. They just move on, right? And they forget storylines. So I understand if you are used to that sort of thing, that when one show happens or one match happens and you don't get what you want or what you expected to get from that match or that show, you're upset because you think they're never going to mention this again. And now, my guy lost or you're upset again about it, right? I get that. I totally do. And I get that you have to have faith in the company to make it right when something like that happens. But like when you just mentioned with Thunder Rosa, everyone was outraged that she lost. And I was kind of thinking she shouldn't have lost. Like but you count on them to make it right. And they did. The reason she lost was so that she could win in her home state. Just like the reason Hangman Page, when they had that storyline with him and the Dark Order tried to win the title shot for him.
Right.
And then they didn't. And everyone was outraged because now the Dark Order is going to get buried and they're going to forget about Hangman Page doesn't get his shot. But no, he did. Just give it some time and it'll be fine. And for everything, and no one's saying AEW is perfect, even though we really like AEW. Like, it's not perfect. They do things wrong, obviously.
Absolutely.
But the one thing that I will give them the benefit of the doubt on, most of the time, they eventually do what you want them to do. That's why I'm that's why I'm still kind of annoyed at the Chris Jericho Eddie Kingston thing, because I think Eddie should get a win. And if they don't do it, I'll be upset. But generally they do let things play out, you get what you want. You get Thunder Rosa winning, or you get Hangman Page winning, or you get, Wardlow's turn took forever, but you got it and it was really good when it happened.
Oh,
and
so good.
So the people who are like absolutely outraged about, CM Punk was buried or Jon Moxley doesn't look good. It was one show. Like, let's see where it goes. If they screw up again, if All Out is for some reason terrible and they mess it up, okay, you're right to say that they did a bad job. I don't think they will. Everything we know about like AEW pay-per-views is every one of them has been very good. And there's no reason to believe this one won't be. And there's no reason to believe that whatever match they do with Punk and Moxley isn't going to be good. So just let it happen. Like, it'll have some faith in them, and they might screw up. And if they do, you're right to complain. But
yeah.
But let them tell what they're trying to tell before you get mad. Like, every individual beat doesn't have to make you outraged. The heel won't. This isn't, Triple H's reign of terror where like he just wins all the time and it looks awful. Like, there was no payoff to that. But I don't think AEW will do that. I think most of the stuff they've done has a satisfying payoff that you're happy with. And if your thinking is, I like the Dark Order, or I like Jon Moxley, or I like CM Punk, or so they should be winning all the time. Like, no, they shouldn't. That's not how stories are told. Stories have ups and downs, and people have setbacks, and that's how you tell a story. So don't get mad at it. It's like watching a movie and halfway through going, oh, well, I don't like the story they're telling. Maybe it's a bad movie, but maybe if you just wait till the end of the movie, it'll be good. Like, you don't know. Yeah. So give it the benefit of the doubt, especially for AEW, which has a pretty solid track record of following through with good endings to their feuds.
I totally agree. It's AEW has set the standard for like new wave wrestling, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But they're delivering. So until, like you said, until they drop the ball, or until WWE or Impact does something to sway them to do something else, like,
right.
I mean, it's an ongoing process. But as you said, AEW's track record is pretty spot on.
Yeah. I mean, they could do a terrible job. Like, they could. We don't know.
Oh yeah, we don't know yet. Yeah, I'm not saying this show is going to be the greatest until I see it.
But based on everything we've seen, there's no reason to believe it would be bad.
Oh no, not at all.
Like with a movie, like if there's a movie that you're watching and it's halfway through and it's terrible, but if you've seen, 5 other movies by that director and that scriptwriter and they've all been
Mm-hmm.
good, you'll give it some time that maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
going to turn out good too.
Yeah,
So
because
why would that person suddenly be no good at making movies? Right. So just like,
right.
why would AEW suddenly get, the theory is, I guess, that either Tony Khan is overwhelmed with a lot of stuff, which I could see that. I mean, he's doing everything, and I can see that being too much. I think he should hire more people to do stuff. Like, I don't think he should be, if there's an ROH TV show, I don't think he should be writing it, because
I totally agree with
because
you.
that's too many things. He should give it to somebody else and oversee it maybe or whatever, but not write the show, because that's too much stuff. And the other thinking is, the internet thinking of, he's panicking now that Triple H is in charge. I don't think that's the case.
No, I don't think it.
And if WWE got really good, like, maybe it will, and go for it. I don't think that they're not in their competition, but they're not in direct competition, right? It's not like people can't watch both shows. So if WWE gets good, that doesn't necessarily mean people stop watching AEW. So I can't see him panicking this quickly.
Yeah, he's not going to panic. I mean, he's used to like real sports and like real consequence. If Jacksonville has a bad year, he has to answer for that.
Right.
And
And I mean,
there's
that is
way more.
the general thinking of the internet. I know it's the internet, and you get like live streams of what people are thinking. So
Yes,
that's not the same as it would have been, years ago when you didn't have that, because you get that in sports too. I mean, hockey team loses a game and people lose their minds, and I'm like, it's game 4 out of 82.
Yes.
Like, just give it some time.
Yeah,
It'll be fine. And if it's not, you get mad at it at game 80, not game 3, right? Like, so it's the same sort of thing. People get very upset about when they don't get the outcome they're expecting right away. But I would just say, again, I sound like old people at this point, very old people talking to like children, but like,
hey, we've earned our right.
Right. So I sound like if you're 20 years old and you're really mad about wrestling, just let's see what happens. I'm not even saying you have to order All Out. If you're bad, you don't think it's going to be a good show, don't. Go ahead. You don't have to. No one's saying you do.
Absolutely.
But if you don't, and then you read about it later and it's good, well, then next time maybe give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, they've had a track record that shows that you should give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove you wrong, until they do something really dumb or stupid or nonsensical, and they might. But until they do, let's give them some opportunity to tell whatever story they're telling.
Yeah, until they put a Ginla on the wrong lane.
Yes,
that's the most unforgivable thing.
Still mad about it. It's like 10 years ago. I'm still mad about it.
All I'm saying is, look what happened in the Olympics when he
was
on the correct.
It's a very niche hockey disgruntled hockey issue I have here, but it's one that's true.
Oh no, there's many people that are from my area. Yeah, we're not happy about that. Well, do you have anything else to add this week, sir?
No, I'm not surprised at the lack. That's another complaint that I was going to do my rant on, but didn't. It'll be short. I'm not going to drag this out.
Do what you got to do, man.
But generally, another complaint people have, and I understand it a little bit, is All Out seemed kind of rushed, and I get it that they only announced most of the matches like last week, when they know the pay-per-view is coming, and what they only have one pay-per-view every 3 or 4 months, so they don't have to rush it like they did. I don't necessarily think they're rushing it. I think the matches were probably planned, bearing injury or other things.
Oh, absolutely.
I just think they didn't announce them till now, so that there was more. I think it was a strategy. I don't know if it was a successful one, but I think it was a strategy to be like, we're going to announce the card, a week and a half before the show, rather than we're going to announce it 2 months or 2 months ago.
And again, going back to like real combat sports, like that's what UFC is, and I don't see why people don't make that correlation. Like I
Right.
understand UFC, they're actually fighting each other, like the tournament in pro wrestling. But I don't know who's going to be on. I don't know what UFC number they're on. I don't know, whatever the next UFC is. Like
Right.
unless it's this Saturday or Sunday, you
Right.
don't know the card. They usually
Right.
tell you over weeks lead up to it.
Right.
So,
And it's the case with a lot of sports. I mean, when the World Series is, but who's in the World Series? You don't know
yeah,
because you have to
yeah,
wait and see, right? So
exactly.
I don't think it's
So,
necessarily rushed. I think it's just they haven't told you like that. It's part of
because
a
they're
strategy.
waiting. Yeah, because like I said, on Dark tonight, they announced it.
Right.
Obviously, to make a challenge or to have somebody interrupt him and challenge, so there's a main
Right.
event. Like there are things that are still happening yet.
Right.
Like they
And
can't say.
it's not however many years ago where like I remember having to order pay-per-views. Like if you ordered it too late, like you missed part of it because there was the
The
90s.
live feed, yeah.
Right. But like this isn't the case now. Like if you decide, you can be undecided about whether you're ordering All Out until like the minute All Out starts, and then you can order it and you can watch it. You could order it an hour late and you can watch it from the beginning again.
From the beginning,
right? Like
yeah.
you could. So it doesn't. They don't necessarily have to sell you 3 weeks ago. They just have to sell you before the show.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing.
And that's usually what their buy-in or whatever they have been calling it has been. It's been a match or two, and usually an extended road to,
right,
which is perfect.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound. I mean, sometimes I do know that we sound like the AEW shills who are just like everything they do is great. I don't think everything. I'm still mad about Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. Like it's not. I don't think everything they do is great. But when I watch their shows and especially when I watch their pay-per-views, I'm entertained the entire time,
Totally.
and it's worth the money that you spend on them. Like the show, the pay-per-views have all been very. I mean, it was a year ago, the last All In, that people called the greatest pay-per-view in the last 20 years or whatever. Right. So this is the same company. I'm not expecting necessarily the greatest pay-per-view in the last 20 years, but I'm also not expecting bad.
Right. I mean, it's I don't know, like the attention span that people have is way too small nowadays.
And it could just be because it's Twitter, because Twitter is like a live feed of everyone's opinions as they have them. So
true.
Maybe if you asked them the next day what they thought of Dynamite, they wouldn't think the same thing as they thought in that moment. But yeah, calm down, people. Just relax a little bit.
Yeah, just hang out and have a few adult beverages if you're old enough, and watch pay-per-view.
There you go.
That's what I'll be doing.
It's going to be a good show. I'm excited.
Be a very good show.
And I really want to know what happens this week with all the show. Like the fact not announcing the card, fully has the benefit of we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean it's a story within itself.
And I mean it almost is certainly going to be Punk versus Moxley, but
it has to be.
But I mean there is that slight chance that it's not, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like I
mean it definitely is. But there's a chance that it's
not. Someone tweeted out, like, obviously, like just what we were talking about, like that as much as we think we know, we don't know anything,
right.
Unless you're really in that inner circle, not even inner circle, unless you're in that backstage.
Right.
And, someone just pointed out, like, it could literally be like Mox versus Big Show.
Right.
Like literally, he's there. He's
right.
able to wrestle. Like, and they could literally do anything. And that was the whole point of the tweet. Like, just listen to like what you just said. Relax, calm down. And not knowing is part of the fun. It's not meant to make you mad. Like,
I remember last year's All Out, people were very upset because everyone thought it was going to be Hangman against Kenny Omega. Especially when they did the Dark Order gets to win the title shot, and it was coming up to All Out, and it's definitely going to be Hangman against Kenny, and it wasn't. And it was Kenny Omega against Christian, and people were disappointed. First of all, Kenny Omega against Christian, excellent match. So
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have been upset. But also, you got Hangman versus Kenny Omega, and you got Omega versus Christian, and they were both good, and you got what you wanted. And just let it happen. That's all.
Hey, do.
Yeah, we don't run the shows. No matter how mad you are about it, like you're not. You could stop watching, or you could keep watching. Those are your choices. Like those are the only options you have.
Yes, or you could hit the Powerball, become a billion third.
Yes, there you go.
Because that's about as much as I would need to start a competitive company now.
Right.
Well, on that note, wow.
I am.
I'm so ready. Before we go, I would just like to thank the listeners every week. Going up again. We've added 2 more states. We're up to 28 states we have listens in.
The fact that people are voluntarily listening to me talk about stuff is very cool.
Unreal. Well, this is the part that boggles my mind. We've added 2 new countries too. We've added Poland and Israel. So they're literally the other side of the world.
I feel like at least one of those is just someone making a terrible mistake.
Hey, you know?
But they kept on the podcast because like maybe it'll get better.
Yeah. Well, listen again. Maybe it's better this time.
Yeah,
but
take the advice we just gave you of letting it play out. Maybe I get less annoying if you just keep listening.
Yeah. And
but yes, thank you. All jokes aside, thank you.
To all our listeners, thank you. Give us a follow at Elite City Pod on Twitter. It's also on Instagram, but we don't really use it yet. So, like, subscribe, comment, rate, all that stuff. It's helping, and more people are obviously hearing. So keep it up. Give us a follow. We'll follow you back. So let's march into All Out. Have a freaking blast doing it. And we will be back here next week with we'll see how wrong we were on all the calls that we made.
When it is Jon Moxley against Big Show.
Yes. Which if it is, I own AEW now. Sorry, Tony. If that's what it is, I called it. I own your company. Until next week, everybody, thank you. And we'll talk to you later. See ya.